Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Marvel Rewind from Apocalypse Movies. My name is Gio. I am hosting this week, and I am joined by Mr. Jacob Bartley. We have two of the original OGs of this channel. Jacob, how are you this Friday, sir?
Man, just in general, a lot of stuff going on. But when it comes to movies and TV, very excited, very happy. Just saw Shang-Chi last night. I texted you how I felt, very excited. Won't talk about that much here, but two brand new MCU things to watch back to back, including this episode of What If. It's just a good time to be alive and be a movie slash TV slash comic book property fan.
Yeah, it's definitely an exciting time for Marvel, and we will be doing a Shang-Chi review on Tuesday's upcoming Apocalypse Now, so stay tuned for that. Make sure you guys get a chance to check it out in theaters this weekend so that way you can join in on the conversation. But we are here for Marvel's current streaming show, What If, which basically, if you haven't heard of it, it is alternate reality, alternate universe stories featuring our favorite characters in the MCU. This one, I believe, is episode 4, titled What If Doctor Strange Lost His Heart Instead of His Hands? And if you've seen any previews or footage regarding this episode, basically, instead of Doctor Strange losing his hands, he loses his heart, and that is Christine Palmer, who in the live action movie was played by Rachel McAdams. So there is a lot of kind of retelling of that movie, a little bit different. That's what If is. It plays the story out a little bit differently from how we remember. So, Jacob, I want to ask you first, what were your overall thoughts on the episode, your reactions when you saw this?
Man, I mean, knowing me and, I've become a big Doctor Strange fan ever since the first movie. And I'm guessing you could guess that I loved this episode.
Oh, sure.
It was very dark. It was very horrific and not, I enjoy those elements of stuff. I'm not the biggest horror fan or whatever, but I enjoy those elements. And we've heard that the Multiverse of Madness is going to include a lot of horror elements, essentially be a MCU horror film. And this, not saying that this is directly going to connect. It could, it probably will, it might, but just saying that the tone that this had as far as that darkness goes and that those terrifying elements worked really well for me. And if they can put some of that into Multiverse of Madness, into Blade, or whatever they have planned in the future, I'm all in. But this episode, it's tough because I missed last week's. I loved last week's episode because I had been saying that the Ant-Man powers are so underrated. He's so powerful, like he can defeat anybody. I've been saying that, and they proved that in that last episode. But this one might be my favorite because it is so heartbreaking, this episode, and you really feel it. So I enjoyed it overall very much.
Yeah, I echo a lot of what you just said. Before the live action Doctor Strange movie, there was an animated Doctor Strange movie done by Marvel Animations.
You actually told me to watch that.
Yes.
You're the one who told me to watch it, yep.
And it reminded me a lot of that, just the tone, the horror elements, sorcery, dark magic, and whatnot. But like you, excuse me, like you said, this is a very tragic story. To lose the one you love and then to watch her die over and over and over again. I mean, it was like a time loop of just misery, and just reliving that tragic moment over and over again. And we saw how it affected Stephen Strange every time he went through it. He became less and less hopeful and kind of succumbed to the evil side of the sorcery. Like I said, there was a lot of parallels from the Doctor Strange movie to this episode. So I want to touch on that first, Jacob. How'd you feel about the changes and the way it was done as far as taking the story from the Doctor Strange movie as we know it and them doing that and their little twist in What If?
Yeah. Real quick, Jake says, "What if Marvel told dark and sad stories?" That's
Right.
definitely what we got here on in
Yeah.
this episode. But yeah,
Agreed.
that is something, Gio, that I noticed right off the bat. Obviously, the Watcher kind of takes us through these and gives us the kind of the setup, right? So we're not. It's not like the episodes just start and you're completely lost. You kind of get the
Mhm.
setup. And what I liked was up until him defeating Dormammu, the only thing that was different was that Christine died. It's Christine, right? Christine
Christine
Palmer.
Palmer. Yeah.
Christine died, and he didn't lose his hands. And Christine was the motivating factor leading to him becoming the Sorcerer Supreme, right? So almost everything else is exactly the same. I mean, we didn't see any Mordo, so I don't know if that
No, we
why,
didn't.
which is interesting. Maybe in this reality he's not there, he doesn't exist, whatever the case is. But Mordo was the one who kind of warned him in the first movie about a lot of this dark
Right.
magic and stuff. So maybe Mordo not being there is a reason why he ultimately led to that. Another reason why. But yeah, so it was really cool because they basically I like that because it shows like, yes, one moment can change in history and lead to something later that happens later on. But for the most part, events are going to happen similarly until it comes down to that one moment that changed and things that are
Right.
related to that. So
Mhm.
I thought that was really clever, and we've seen different paths, right? Like the T'Challa episode where he becomes Star-Lord, that everything was changed around everybody, right? But
Sure.
like the Captain Carter episode, a lot of the same events happened, and this was very similar. A lot of the same events happened, but once he starts like trying to bring her back is when things went crazy, and that's where we get the change in realities, really.
Yeah, we've seen that theme before in movies where like one person's life is not worth the devastation that later happens. You know, we've
Mm-hmm.
seen it in time travel movies, post-apocalyptic movies, so on and so forth. And that really hits you on the head in this episode right here. One other thing that was a difference, Christine and Stephen Strange are actually a couple. I believe in the movie, right? They were exes,
In
if
the
I'm not
movie,
mistaken.
so I heard some
It's been
other
a while.
YouTube I heard some other YouTubers saying, where did this love for Christine come from? Like, I wasn't attached to their relationship. I'm like, look, when we meet them in Doctor Strange, they already had a relationship. They
Yes.
they were romantically involved already. They're exes that had to work together at the hospital. So there always was a romantic thing. I see some people trying to say that like they they made it a romantic thing just for this episode, but they were always romantically involved, and he always cared about her. At the what's the very last shot of Doctor Strange? He puts on the watch that she gave him, the
Mhm.
broken watch that she gave him,
Yeah.
because that's like the only person he cares about before he got involved in this superhero stuff, right? So he always cared about her. Now in this reality, they're together I think that's the difference, right? Is they're
Yeah.
actually together
They're a
now.
thing. Yeah.
Maybe they never broke up, in the first place.
Right.
So that which means that she goes with him to the event, which leads, but we find out that's no matter what he does, he can't change what happens to her.
Yeah, and somebody pointed this out online was that the all right, so the wreckage happens a little bit differently initially, right? He swerves into the other lane to pass the truck, but then he
Yeah.
goes back. But then he gets rear-ended by somebody else. But from that moment on, the fall, the tumble of the car, all the way to when it lands, like right on the fence,
Mm-hmm.
is the exact same
It's crazy.
of how it
Yeah.
happens, shot for shot. I was like, wow, that is just an incredible detail. And something that really stood out for me this episode, they called it an absolute time point where no matter
Mm-hmm.
what you do, no matter what happens, it will always go back to Christine Palmer dying, unfortunately. And so I want your thoughts on that. And then I'll ask you a follow up question.
Wow. Yes, the absolute point in time obviously was a major part of this episode, and
Mhm.
they made, especially the second half, right? It's introduced and you really understand its importance. But it makes me think, because we always say, oh, time travel, they can go back and fix anything, right? That's not necessarily true. Let's hypothetically let's say they wanted to go back and say, make sure Tony Stark didn't die or something, right? Maybe Tony Stark's death is a fixed point in time. He has to die and make that sacrifice every single time, hypothetically. So I like that, because what it does is it makes these situations, like, if in the future, honestly, what that does for me is it raises the stakes going forward, because it means that if character dies, you just can't fix it with time travel. And I actually love that.
That's a good point. That's been a criticism I have of Marvel live action, is that, like, when a character dies, they're not really dead, or it becomes a misdirection, right? Where it's like, oh, they're not really dead. We almost had you. And so I do like that they introduced that. Jacob, so far in this sacred timeline, the MCU live action movies, have we seen any absolute time points that no matter what, going forward, characters will either stay dead, events will still happen, so on and so forth?
See, I don't know, because we wouldn't know, right? You could say every single character that died is an absolute point in time, but we don't know. So are you just saying, like, do you have some in mind, or you're just saying if I speculate whether there are any or not?
Can you think of any that would make, like, when you hear absolute time point, like this moment jumps in your head? Like, for me, I think Tony Stark sacrificing himself, doing the snap.
Yeah, that
could be an absolute time point.
Yeah. I mean, hypothetically, I was going to say Tony, what leads to him becoming Iron Man but we're going to see that moment in the desert with Killmonger. So we'll see how they play that, because I was going to say, does Tony never become Iron Man if he doesn't end up in that cave? That's him ending up there. But you know what? And I've always thought this, but this made me think of this, is when Endgame happened, right? Everybody said, oh, it's a time travel movie, right? They can fix anything with time travel now. And one thing that I always thought that they can't go back and fix no matter what is Natasha's death. Because if she doesn't sacrifice herself, they don't get the Soul Stone, and they can't get the gauntlet back and recreate it and bring everybody back. So that another point of your example is they could go back and save Natasha, right? But then they don't bring everybody back. So it's sacrificing one life for the billions, right? So Natasha's death has always, I didn't know it was called this, but in my mind, Natasha's death was always the absolute point in time.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. While she might exist in other realities, and whatnot, in this current timeline, that's it. So, Doctor Strange does something unthinkable. He does the Anakin Skywalker, where he trains, he becomes really good at what he does, and then he decides.
Oh wow, I didn't even think of Anakin, but that's a perfect comparison.
Oh, yeah.
That's a perfect comparison.
You become so good at your craft and what you do that you want more. And in this case, he wants to save the life of the one he loves.
Yeah, it's actually very similar.
Very, very similar. Wow. And of course, Wong tells him, you shouldn't do that. And what happens? Doctor Strange does it anyway. And it's the second time we've seen Doctor Strange not listen to Wong. The first being in Spider-Man No Way Home.
At least the trailer, right?
Yeah, the trailer. So I'm seeing a pattern here, and I'm wondering where it leads into. And then I thought about, we talk about Cap and Bucky, Tony Stark and James Rhodey. I think Stephen Strange and Wong, those two are quickly becoming one of those duos that aren't talked about enough in the MCU. You think about their time in Doctor Strange, in Infinity War, when he's like, I got $1.75, give me something to eat. Their moments together. I think those two are going to be what Cap and Bucky, Tony and James were for those movies, but these two going forward.
Yeah, I like that. And Wong is becoming one of my favorite characters overall, and has a little bit to do with the movie that I watched last night. But I I yeah, I like that because, and you know what's cool about that is, you know, Steve, super soldier. Essentially, Bucky he's a super soldier as well.
Sure.
Tony Stark, Iron Man armor, Rhodey, Iron Man armor, and Wong and Doctor Strange are both sorcerers. So
Yeah.
it every every one of those best bud relationships, they're they're another version of the character when it comes to their powers, at least.
Right. See, I think those two are going to be the next duo to like in the future of the
Yeah, and they
MCU.
already have the banter, which is
Right.
great.
Yeah, totally. So, what were some highlights for you as far as the what if episode goes? I mean, we
Oh
could
my
go
goodness,
beat
there's a
by beat
lot.
through the higher the. We'll
Yeah,
go one by one. Switch
I think
off.
highlights are good. I mean, do you have some points or?
I mean, yeah, we got quite a bit of the ancient one in this
That's
movie,
a
and
that's a good point.
what's funny is I think this is the first what if episode where everybody who played the character in live action, as far as major characters go, they voiced it. Like Rachel McAdams as Christine, Cumberbatch as Strange, Wong as that's his name, right? BD Wong is that his name? What's his name? What's
Yeah,
Wong?
I think yeah, I
Wong is
think it
Wong.
is BD Wong. Yeah,
Yeah, and then Tilda
which
Swinton,
perfect for him, right?
right, as the ancient one, and we only got a little glimpse of
Hey,
the ancient one
and
as Strange. Go ahead.
Leslie Bibb as the reporter on the TV.
Oh, she's Christine
Yeah,
Everhart,
something like
Vanity
that.
Fair,
Yeah,
something like that.
from Iron Man, right?
Yeah, going all
Hmm.
the way back. So wow, who would have thought she would still
I
have a
saw her
role?
name in the credits, and I was like, wait a minute, that's the same character from Iron Man. Yeah,
Yeah, but yeah, the ancient one tries to stop Strange after Strange it goes through a Groundhog Day / Edge of Tomorrow type of time loop where he keeps seeing Christine Palmer die again and again and again. And so Ancient One is like, you got to stop, okay, or I'm going to have to stop you. And I
hmm
think that would have been a fascinating fight had it played out all the way. I think just seeing the Sorcerer Supreme versus the former Sorcerer Supreme, that would have been
yeah,
crazy, in my opinion.
absolutely. And somebody else brought this up online, forget who, but they were saying that because his hands weren't broken, he was able to learn faster. So he became more powerful faster because his
Good
hands
point.
weren't broken. So at that point, I think he's more powerful than our, main timeline, sacred timeline, Doctor Strange is. And so, and he's supposed to go on to become like the most powerful being other than, I guess, Wanda, right? Which
Right.
because they literally told us that Wanda becomes more powerful than him. But yeah, so maybe Strange Supreme even wins that because he's just so smart, and he's so powerful. But it was very interesting. Like when they talk about the split thing, and I think is that when she does it, but we don't know that she does it yet.
Yeah, she did the split.
So that caught me off guard. I was like, wait, what? There was like, did they have time for this? Like when it happened, but it worked out actually.
Yeah, so what happens is Ancient One is going to battle with Doctor Strange, and then Ancient One does a blast, and it splits Doctor Strange into two. One half of him remains here, and I'm gonna just say the bad half or the stubborn half goes off to like some ancient time and finds a library. We're introduced to a character named Obeng, I think his name is Obengh. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Who turns out to be kind of like I don't know, the librarian of the ancient library with all the books and the
Mm-hmm.
spells and whatnot. And there, Doctor Strange figures out that in order to get Christine Palmer back, his love, he has to summon a power that requires power from other beings. So we see him do his best Shang Tsung, where he
Yeah,
summons
basically,
people
yeah.
and then he takes their powers, a very much like your soul is mine kind of thing.
Exactly, yeah.
And it's just creature after creature and it's just
It
after a
literally
while.
goes on for years. Like it goes on for like 30 years or something, right? Like
Yeah, well, they
because
said centuries, and I'm like, wow, how does time pass in there? Because Strange didn't age at all, but the librarian Obeng
mm,
is like on his deathbed. He's
oh, they
old.
said centuries.
Yeah, they said
Oh
centuries, and I
my
was like,
goodness. So how much like what was going on out in the world when he was doing that? That's crazy, you know?
well,
Like
remember, he went back to where he went to was like a
ah,
ancient time or
I
something.
get it. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense now. That no, that
Yeah,
makes sense. And dude, when he's just when monster after creature after creature is popping up and he's just sucking in their souls, that was, and then you see like the parts of them in him. That was so. Look, I'm not saying I was like shivering in my boots or nothing, but like if I was a kid watching that, that's
it's
scary.
disturbing. It's
Yeah,
dark.
it really is.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
and I loved that because not that they wouldn't do it in live action, but we haven't seen something like this in live action yet, and I
No,
think we
not yet.
will. I think we will, but that was just shocking to me. But I loved it.
One creature we did see again was the same one from Captain Carter, the first episode, the
Yes.
squid creature, who some believe is a character in the comics named Shuma Gorath. Basically, a tentacle creature with like one giant eye,
Yeah.
and big character in the comics among the Doctor Strange lore. From what I've told, I haven't read those issues, but they believe there's a reason why this character is reappearing again. Could
Has
play
popped
into
up
Multiverse
twice
of
in 4
Madness.
episodes. Yeah, that's a big
Yeah,
deal. Yeah.
yeah. And there was a line through all of this that the librarian Obeng said, "There is a fine line between devotion and illusion. Love can break more than your heart. It can shatter your mind." That is so true. I, I mean,
Yeah.
like, it just love is, yeah, many things, but it can affect you, and we see it with Doctor Strange. All of a sudden, I get the sense in my mind that he has more than enough power. In my mind, I'm thinking, okay, dude, you have enough power, but you keep taking more and more. Is this about Christine anymore, or is this just
That's what
about
I was
you?
wondering too, because he just kept doing it,
He
right?
kept doing it.
And they didn't show us that like he would do it and then go try to save her real quick. Oh, that didn't work. I need more power. He just kept absorbing power without going to try and save her. But I just think he maybe wanted to make sure he had enough. I don't know, that it was pretty crazy to me, like that he was. I thought, okay, let's absorb a few souls, right? And then, or whatever, take the essence from a few beings and let's go try to save her again. But he didn't do that.
You know what this reminds me of? And you might roll your eyes, but there was a line in Batman v Superman where Lex Luthor says, "Do you know what the greatest lie in America is, Senator? It's that power can be innocent." I thought that played very well into this episode right here. Because
Yeah.
at first he's like, I just really want to save her. But to your point, he keeps taking more and more and
Mm-hmm.
more and more. It's like that rush that you get, when you get a like on social media, and all of a sudden it's not about, you want more, you want more. And I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
getting into like some
No,
weird.
that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, but even the Watcher was disturbed. He said, I could interfere if I want and, kind of show him to the right path, but it's not worth the destruction of the other universes. We saw quite a bit of Watcher in this
Yeah.
movie.
He was like, it's weird because I got the sense that he's watching from a distance. He's watching
Right.
everybody from a distance and like
Mm-hmm.
he's not close up, but maybe because depending on what's going on. And I thought in the comics there's more than one Watcher, right? Or no, I don't know. I thought there
Well,
were multiple Watchers.
in Volume 2 of Guardians, we saw 3
Yeah.
with
So
Stan Lee.
my understanding of Watchers is that there's more than one, but so maybe he's assigned to this universe at the moment or whatever the case is, or I don't know, but that was very weird. Like the fact that he's just like hovering above him, but like he can't see him, but Doctor Strange, because he's probably so powerful, he felt him, and we see him talk to him directly at the end, and he's like, I can feel you there, like you can stop this.
Dude, how tragic was that
crazy
ending? I know we're jumping forward a little bit, but let's just
let's get to it. Yeah,
dude, he's like, no, I realize my mistake, please help me, stop. And Christine Palmer, she's back, but she's slowly going away again. Like her soul or her life, whatever, is like going away, draining.
Yeah, I was confused about that, but so whatever he was doing over all those centuries, whatever he's doing was causing the whole entire universe dimension to be destroyed. So everything was like melting away in that black goo or whatever, right? So he destroyed the world that him and Christine lived in. So when he brings her back, what is there to live for? Because he already destroyed everything. So, and she's a regular human being. So when she comes back, he already destroyed the world. So she's going to be destroyed with it.
Exactly.
And also I was curious, is he so powerful that he doesn't get destroyed by it?
Yeah, because in the end, he ended up in that sort of...
That would be
like a mirror dimension where he was just in his own little...
Dude, that would be... Wouldn't that be like just a nightmare to be stuck in there forever? And
yeah. Knowing that you were just too stubborn, too much of an ego to listen to anybody else because you thought with... never mind. I was going to say something. Never mind. I was... Ooh,
hey, but at least from the trailers, we know we will see the character again.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. With her, him and Captain Carter.
Yep. So I don't know what's going on there, but we'll see him again, and maybe we'll see him again in live action. Maybe.
We'll see, man.
We'll see.
Let's jump back a little bit. So, good Doctor Strange versus cuckoo Doctor Strange. And that moment reminded me of Vision and how they talked in WandaVision, right? Did you get that sense? White Vision and
oh yeah,
Wanda's vision.
No, that was I didn't think about that at the time, but that makes sense. Yeah, that was pretty interesting, and I was shocked during that fight. Like I thought the good Doctor Strange was going to win. And another interesting thing about that is, which I didn't realize at first, is that because they're split, they're sharing the powers. Like they're basically half as powerful as they could be because they're split in half. So once he absorbs the other Doctor Strange, that's his ultimate power right there, which was pretty crazy. But yeah, it does remind me of White Vision and Fake Vision.
Yeah, we even saw the capes. Their capes go at it too. That was something.
Yeah, and I can't believe he took his cape from a bug. Like, first of all, why does that giant bug have a cape? Second of all,
because I think the bug was a sorcerer wherever that bug came from.
Were all of them sorcerers?
I believe so, because he needed their power.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. So is what he does to those sorcerers, is that... Oh, no, because Mordo takes away the guy's sorcery's powers in the post-credit scene of Doctor Strange.
Benjamin Bratt, yeah.
But he's still alive, though. He just takes his sorcerer powers that were allowing him to walk again, right? So
right.
I was going to say, is that the same thing? But no, it's not. But yeah, that was crazy, man.
Yeah, man. So in the end, it was not a happy ending. And we don't get too many of those in comic book movies, whether it's, live action movies or even streaming animated. So that was kind of refreshing for myself. It left you like, oh man, like, not everything is all sunshine and rainbows in every universe, so, count your blessings. But your final thoughts on What If and Doctor Strange had he lost his, or whatever the episode's called. I'm sorry.
What if Doctor Strange lost his heart instead of his hands, I believe is what it's called. But I've liked every single episode so far of What If, so I can't even choose a favorite. But this one, like, they're all just almost on par with each other. They're like, I'm not comparing these to the movies or anything, this is a different... It's just a shorter storytelling. It's alternate universe. It's a different, alternate story. But I really like them for what they are. And this one is just right on par with the rest, which have all been great so far. Question for you, Gio. Who wins? Thanos with the gauntlet? So Infinity War, Thanos with the gauntlet, or Doctor Strange Supreme? This Doctor Strange. This Doctor Strange fully powered, like, basically.
You know, I'm gonna have to give it to the Gauntlet.
Yeah.
Because I don't think this Doctor Strange, when he falls into that, when Ancient One sends him into the wherever the ancient library, he doesn't have the Eye of Agamotto with him.
Mm-hmm.
He has a lot of powers, but with Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet and that.
I guess that's true, because if he's fighting Thanos, then the Time Stone would be on the gauntlet, right? He wouldn't have the Time Stone to fight him.
Yeah, that's way too powerful.
Okay, so, and even when we saw him fight him in Infinity War, he didn't have the full gauntlet. So
no, he had the power, space, and reality.
Yeah. So, I wonder if you just give Strange the Time Stone, and then Thanos gets the gauntlet with the other 5 stones. That would be maybe a little bit more fair.
Yeah.
I would give this Strange a chance though in that fight. I think it would be close.
I mean, with all those powers that he took from the Sorcerer, to call it a Mike Tyson first round knockout, no, you don't do that. It would go at least 6 rounds, in my opinion. But
yeah, true.
Who knows? Maybe we'll see that one day. But that's gonna do it, guys. That's it for our Marvel Rewind. What if Doctor Strange lost his heart instead of his hands? Leave us your thoughts, your comments. What do you think about the show overall? And what do you think about this episode? Remember, we will be talking Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings this upcoming Tuesday on Apocalypse Now. So make sure you watch it between now and then. And Jacob, thank you so much for joining me. This was a fun conversation for a very dark episode. It was actually a nice conversation to have. Thank you to Jeffrey, to Star Drew, to Jake Berlin, and whoever else is watching. We appreciate your time and your subscriptions. And we will see you guys next week for another Marvel Rewind What If episode. Until then, you guys be safe.